Are you looking to learn how to make a needle felted apple? If so, then you're on the right video, because today I'm going to share with you everything you need to know to make one and more. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's needle felting video, how to felt an apple. My name is Iceland, and on this channel I'll be your fiber artist host. Here I share needle felting videos, tutorials, and more. So if you're new, please consider subscribing. Thank you to those of you who are returning here. Your support really does mean so much to me. If you find these videos helpful, you can always hit the thanks button, show your support there, and share these videos where you can, or leave a comment. I always love connecting with you there. Also, if you're looking for a needle felting time-lapse video on this apple, I have one as well, and I'll be sure and link that, as well as all videos down in the description below for you. Just go check out more. Now I'm going to show you everything you're going to need to make your needle felted apple. So to felt your apple, you're going to want some red wool, a decent amount. It'll depend on how big of the item you want it to be. And you're going to need some stem colors, leaf colors. I like to vary the colors a little bit to help it look a little more real. And then the core wool, this is just bone colored. It hasn't been dyed. It is a mix of wool, and it's going to make the center of the apple. You want your felting surfaces. I like to use two different ones, one with color, one without. Next, your choice of felting needles. I'll use a few different ones for this process, and the needle you use is going to depend on the type of wool you have. A tape measure, this helps me know the size of my project, and then scissors to trim it up at the end, so I like these ones with the curved tip. And remember, I'm going to have everything you need to make your needle felted apple linked down in the description below. You can go and check out more later. Now let's get into today's needle felting video. To begin, you're going to want to take your felting surface and your felting needle and some of your wool and begin to roll it all tight together here into a ball. This is going to make the core of your apple, and then you'll take your needle and begin to pierce it in the wool. It's going to interlock the fibers, and this is going to keep it all nice and tight, felted. Just be nice and patient. Continue this repeatedly. Always felt away from your fingers. Just keep rolling it, because we want to get this all nice and tight. Take a little bit more wool here. Wrap it around even more. Don't want to take too much, because we are going to want to shape the apple a little bit with some of that. Now continue piercing this ball of wool, and as you do this, you do want to slightly shape it as you felt towards what you picked to be the bottom, a little more in, and as you felt around the top, you're going to want to make sure you have an indent for the apple as well, which will come in here in a moment when we kind of add another top, thicker layer around the top and blend that. For now, we're going to kind of get this nice smaller piece felted in, so the center will be solid and it won't be too squishy. If you also want to get an idea of the size of your felted item, grab your tape measure. So mine's going to be about 3.5 in width, and then in height I am shooting for 4. So I'll definitely want to add more on the top and bottom. If you're ever curious why I do around 3.5, 4 inches in sized items, because that is the best size for a newborn prop, and that's what I specialized in making when I first started needle felting. So one thing to keep in mind, if your apple is starting to be a little bit misshapen, don't be too concerned, because as you can see, apples, they aren't perfect in shape anyway. And then I also am accounting for in height some of the stem and leaf coming out of the top. So if you're shooting for a certain height, mine included the leaf height as well. So just I'll put a little bit more around the top and dial in the bottom a little bit more. Take the wool, add it around the top, and then you want it to be kind of cobweb-like. You want to smooth and blend that in as you felt it on. Same for the other side. And then again, just continue the felting process, piercing that wool in and out. and smoothing this wool and attaching it on and making it look all nice and felted like an apple. So on this bottom part, I'm just beginning to shape it a little bit into a star print kind of, and then I can shape and add wool as I felt this even more and add the red layer on. I'm going to use a little bit of the needle felting pin to just kind of speed up the process here, get an overall felt on this apple. Alright, just a few last touches here and it is time to start covering this apple in red. Next step is to get your colored surface if you have one and some red colored wool. Now you're going to want to take some of your red wool. It does not require a lot of it, and you're going to want to begin to cover your apple completely and fill all these pieces on with this red so you don't see any of the white bone color coming through, and you don't want to make it lumpy. And then just continue piercing all around your apple, attaching the red wool until it is completely covered in a nice smooth layer of red. Adding as you go, and remember as you do, the more cobweb-like the wool fibers are, the better for attaching and felt everywhere, not down into one area, so it does not ball on you, and it as well continues to stay nice and smooth. Once you feel like you have your apple completely covered in the red wool, you can set it aside, and you're going to want to grab the brown wool to begin working on a stem for it. So you grab a little bit of both those colors. You don't have to super mesh them. You're going to want to roll them together, and then at one end leave a little more of the bright brown so it'll look like it's been broke off the apple. You can even kind of roll it like this to get a little bit of a start between your hands. Make sure you don't have too much. And then just begin felting it, and I do want for the most part it to be this darker brown. Wrap that lighter brown inside, and then as you do this, just keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it, and leave the one end loose because that'll attach into the apple. And then you'll want to give the tip of the stem a little bit of a hard, flatter spot so that'll look like the tip. Once you are finishing up felting your stem, you're going to want to work on the leaf. So grab some of the darker of the green, and you will just use a hint of the brown down along the center once it's done. And then you're going to want to kind of think teardrop shaped with a bit of a curve. I'm even going to flip this to this side. And so in doing this, you're going to be felting your leaf and flipping it back and forth to make it as flat as possible. And then you'll leave a bit of it loose to be able to attach it. I'll shape mine a little bit more here. I don't want it too thick on this side either. That way you have something to secure it down into the apple with. So to work on the edge of the leaf, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to felt around it some. You can save yourself and just trim if you'd like. I like to do a little bit of both. It just kind of tucks that in there, and I keep it away from myself as much as possible because this is like almost a guarantee way to accidentally poke yourself. You could use finger protectors here. Once your leaf is almost all set, you can go ahead and add some of that deeper, darker brown, just about a little line of it in the center, not too much of it. Just felt that right down in. Now you're going to want to take your apple and some lighter green wool, and you're going to begin to cobweb them around your apple like so. Some shorter, some longer, some wider, some thinner. And then just start felting this right on. Now you want to take a little brown, put that down in the very center of your apple, give it a good felt in. So you want to be sure to not over felt there so then it doesn't look like you're also getting lines into your apple either. And now it's time where you can attach the stem and the leaf. So you're going to want to pick what looks like the front of your apple. And then I want my leaf like so. I'm going to fan that wool out a little bit on the base of each of these for attaching them down in. And then I'm just going to start felting these on, just like that. You can also take a little more of the green wool, brown wool, mesh them together in just the slightest amount. Use that, tuck it down in to help secure in your stem and your leaf like so. Now you can take your scissors with the curved tip. You're going to want to trim all over your apple, any of those loose fibers away, or if you see anything that you still might want to tuck in slightly, give it that final felt and look. Or if you feel like maybe your apple leaf is a little too big, you can trim some of that extra away. This can get a little messy, so sometimes moving your felting surface is the best route when doing this. As you are giving your felted apple the final felt everywhere, make sure you're adding any tiny cobweb pieces around the top here like so, to make sure your apple does not look all stripy at the top. And then you felt those down everywhere. You don't want to felt it down all in one spot or it'll start to get too thick. You really got to spread it out cobweb-like. You really want to take your time giving it that final felt, smoothing it all out so you have a nice, beautiful, finished looking product. And here's a closer look. That's it, everything you need to know to make a needle felted apple and be a fiber artist as well. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure and share it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet, leave a comment if there's something you'd like to see me felt. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate the support here so much. Leave a comment if you have a question. I always come back and answer them. Happy felting, everyone. Bye.